Time to get cracking. Hi everybody, and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude and part 2 of the Airfix 1/48 scale P-51D Mustang. In part 1 of the beginning of this build series for the Airfix P-51 Mustang, I talked about the box contents and a little bit about the kit itself and what my plan was for the kit. So in this episode, I am actually going to start work. So before I go any further, I just want to remind everyone, if you did not see the first video, I do not plan on doing a step-by-step build on this particular kit. I'm going to be building it way out of sequence, and I'm going to be doing some extra stuff, which I will cover, but it's mainly going to be kind of summary type videos with some building involved. I don't want to take up a whole lot of time doing video and stuff, and this should be a fairly quick build because of the nature of the kit. It's small, and it only has 53 parts, so it should be fairly quick except for some of the extra stuff that I'm going to do, and that's what I'll talk about. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So right off the old baseball bat, I am going to be doing some painting, and that will be the cockpit parts. So I'm going to have to do some priming and some painting and a little bit of assembly, but because this is going to be a closed cockpit aircraft, I will probably be painting a lot of stuff in situ just to make it easier. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these parts off here and get those ready to go and get them primed and get them painted. So let me get everything cut off and ready to go, and come back and take a look at what I've got. All right, as I said, I'm going to be building this kind of out of order. So I've got all these cockpit parts painted, letting those dry. So while those are drying, I am going to go ahead and glue the wings together. So I'm going to have to drill some holes and then glue the top and bottom wing sections together, because I'm going to be puttying these surfaces here. So I'm going to go ahead and get these cut out, get them drilled and ready to roll for putty. Real quick, I'm going to talk about this wing puttying thing. So this thing's floating all over the internet, different websites and forums and stuff. There's a name here, John Terrell or Terrell. So to give credit where credit's due, but it shows what and how the stuff is puttied up and so forth. So it's color coded, and on all these panel lines here, red velveteen glazing putty applied over surfacer to finish covering remaining irregularities in skin butt joints, sanded smooth. So it looks like they zinc chromate base coat it for corrosion resistance, and that's on the, we're just talking about the top wing right now. Acme gray surfacer, usually up to 6 coats sprayed onto wing. So here and here, obviously here because of foot traffic, sprayed onto wing, and then this red velveteen glazing putty is put over the skin butt joints and sanded smooth. All right, so now that's for those who like to do weathering and chipping and wear and all that kind of stuff, this provides some pretty cool opportunities here because of all the different things going on. Then we have the bottom, and we got the same thing. We got the zinc chromate there, I'm assuming on the whole surface. Then this Acme gray surfacer, number 53-N or 53N5, and then the glazing putty. So that is what I need to replicate on these wings. Now I think the way I'm going to tackle this is I am going to now see, this is bare metal here, so that doesn't get touched inside of there. But what I'm going to do is I am going to apply the putty. I got to figure out what kind of putty I'm going to use on here first. Get it somewhat sanded and worked on, and then glue these parts into place. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because I might glue it together first. I'm not sure. I just don't want to risk filling in this joint here or that joint. So I'll probably do it. I'll probably glue the wings together first, and then that way I can do these front edges and everything all at the same time. So I'm gonna get cracking on that. All right, so here's how the wing sits right now with filling in the appropriate parts. I've sanded, I filled it. I had to do it twice using Mr. Surfacer 1000, and I think 500 would be better, but I don't have any right now. I've got some on the way, but it's working pretty good. I had to do it twice in order to get it to fill in good, and I've sanded with a 400 grit stick. So now I just need to work through my finer grits to get it smoothed out really good, and I just need to do it on this side here and then underneath here as well. So but for the rest of the filling, I think I am going to wait for the 500 so I can see if that, you know, works a little quicker. I may pick up again with the 1000, but for now, for now I'm going to wait. So with that, I can start working on the cockpit parts. I can paint the details on the cockpit here, on the cockpit floor and on the seat, and then I can get the decal on this, and eventually get on to painting this little bloke. I can start putting that together, because once I do that, I can get this glued together and ready to go. And continue on the wings, continue on with the wings, then I can start gluing stuff together. So for now, I'm going to start painting this stuff. All right, so I've got everything painted, and some panel line stuff. Just to make the details pop a little bit. So now I can start thinking about gluing this in place, so I can glue the fuselage halves together. So what I'm going to do first is a little bit of flash right here that I need to deal with. So what I like to do is I like to scrape the paint away to the bare plastic, just so I get a really good plastic on plastic. Joint. Okay, here's where it sits now. I've got the fuselage together with the cockpit, painted the pilot, put him in place, and I've cleaned up, at least as far as I can tell without primer, I've cleaned up all of the seams on the fuselage. So that is ready to set aside. This here, I'm still waiting on my Mr. Surfacer 500 putty to do the rest of my panel line filling. So that is set aside. I've got the flaps, horizontal stabilizers, and the rudder all cut from the sprue and cleaned up. So those are ready to go for primer and then eventually paint. So while I am waiting on putty, I'm going to be working on some of the smaller stuff, getting more stuff cleaned up and ready to go. One thing that I want to bring up here is these drop tanks. So I've already got one glued together here and clamped. Now what I did with the drop tanks is, with the pins, they're locating pins and corresponding locating holes on the other side. When used, it is not lined up properly. So this side is shifted this way, this side is shifted that way. So just to make things easy, if I can get this part, is I just did this. Cut those locating pins clean off. Like that, and then I don't have to worry about them being offset. And all I did was kind of held the two halves loosely and applied some cement there and there all the way around. Carefully turn it over without touching it and getting fingerprints. And just glue it together like that. Make sure it is lined up properly and clamp it like that. And if it slides, just give it a twist to make sure it stays lined up properly. That is one of the things that people like to complain about when it comes to Airfix kits, is that the quality control isn't like quite up to snuff. But that kind of thing can be found on just about any brand, I'm afraid to say. So don't judge them too harshly. And then let that set up really good. Make sure it's lined up, and then we can come back, sand all that smooth. All right, so that's the drop tank. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut off some more parts to clean up, such as the propeller and stuff like that. All right, these things are glued together. I was gonna wait for my Mr. Surfacer 500 to come in, but at the suggestion of someone, I decided to try the Mr. Hobby Mr. Dissolved Putty for these panel lines. Now it's probably going to take a couple of applications to get it to fill in, but we'll see. Should be okay. But while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and start filling in the seams here on these drop tanks. And for that, I'm going to use Bondo glazing and spot putty. Now I've used this stuff before, and I had some, but it was getting separated and starting to get like cured up in the tube and get hard and all that kind of stuff. So I decided to buy a new one. See, that's all that runny stuff, man. That's what I hate about this. I think I need to store this thing sitting on the lid, but so I'm gonna try and get the. There we go. Like that. So I've used, again, like I said, I've used it in the past and I've had good results, but that was a long time ago, and I think it's just gotten too messed up in the tube, my old one. So I decided to buy a new tube and give it a try. See if it works any better. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold this with these here tweezers just to make it easier to apply this stuff. So I'm gonna use a brush. You know what? I'm gonna try and mix this up a little bit. Where it's not so thick and goopy. See, that's more of a consistency that I can work with. The other stuff is just, it was horrible. So we'll see how this works. So basically I'm just going to use this old brush here and just, it'll be interesting to see if I get any shrinkage. Like a ghost seam kind of thing. You know, it's funny when you think about it. This is not a modeling specific product, yet many people use it on models. Funny. So I'm going to continue just going around both of these like this, and then once it cures up, I'll sand it and we'll see what we got. All right, so these are all filled in and sanded smooth. I've got all of my smaller parts on sticks ready for painting. So really, I'm ready to move on to doing a little bit of primer work, especially on the wings, to see if there is anything that needs to be fixed. So I think with that, I'm going to call this video done. And when I come back next time, hopefully I'll have this primed. And we can take a look and see if I missed anything, if anything needs to be touched up. Then we can move on from there. So, thanks for watching part 2 of the Airfix 148 scale P-51D Mustang. If you have any questions, hints, tips, concerns, any of that kind of stuff, put them in the comments section down below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can and answer any of those questions or comments. So, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude, and as always, I will see you all later.